Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Software Testing. My name is Knott and I'm happy that you're here today. In today's video I would like to talk about the do's and don'ts in test automation. For those of you who are working or who are working already in the field of software testing, test automation, you may know some of the do's and don'ts already. But I would like to talk about the topic today because whenever I talk to clients and different people inside software development projects, there's still a lot of wrong perceptions when it comes to test automation. And with the do's and don'ts, I will share some lights and also maybe help you to think about different aspects when you would like to introduce test automation in your company or in your team. So let's take a look. So we all have been there, right? I bet one of you have heard at least one of the two sentences that I'm going to show now. We don't need software testers in a team. Our developers are going to test. Of course I have heard it. I just heard it last week. We need to automate everything with 100% of coverage. It's also a phrase or a sentence that I bet that you have already heard, myself included. And whenever I hear these kind of sentences, my inner reaction is usually like this. Oh my God, this is so wrong. This is completely wrong. It's wrong when we talk about testing, and it's also sometimes wrong when we talk about test automation, because some of the people, especially in management positions, who are like the people who decide if a team will get a software tester or a test automation engineer, they sometimes have no clue, no idea what testing really means and what test automation or automated checks are all about. And with that video, I would like to share my personal do's and don'ts that I have seen over the course of the last years, what you can do and what you should not do. So let's take a look. So the first do in test automation is hire the right people. I mean, everything comes down to hiring the right people with the right mindset. And here are a few points I would like to talk about. So first of all, whenever you are in a hiring position or you are in a team and you can talk to your team lead and say, hey, we need this kind of people, software engineering skills is a key a key skill this person must have. Without the software engineering skills, your automation will fail, because you have to follow patterns, you have to build up a solid and strong architecture to get maintainable code and to treat also your test automation or to your automated checks as production code. So therefore, it's really important to invest a lot of time in the recruitment process. And that doesn't only mean that you have to invest time in writing the ad or like in checking CVs, for example. It's also that you as a hiring manager, you should take part of the hiring interview. Don't delegate this task to anybody in the company or in the team, because it's your responsibility to hire the best people for that position. So that's why it's important to invest a lot of time in the recruitment process. Of course, another thing that you should do is you should define your hiring goals. So what you would like to achieve, what is the tech stack that you're looking for, that position, and so forth and so forth. Then, of course, you should write a proper job ad. Don't add too many bullet points, because it might be frightening for people. I mean, if you say, okay, would like to have somebody with 10 years of experience with all the various test automation frameworks out there, 2 or 3 different programming languages, this is nothing I would apply for. So really boil it down to the 5 key points maybe that this person must bring to that job position in order to be successful. And then you should always provide enough context to the applicant. So whenever you have a hiring interview, talk to that person, share as many information as possible, many information that you're allowed to share, to give the person who is applying the right context so that he or she can make up their mind, okay, this might be the right fit and the right position for me. So that's important. So the first do when it comes to test automation is hire the right people. The second one is selecting the right tools. Yeah, this is also something that I have seen in the past years working in the software testing industries, that whenever a person has the possibility or the chance to start on a green field and to select a mobile test not a mobile test automation tool, but a test automation tool in general, they tend to take the most hyped tool that is on the market at the moment. So there might be, oh yeah, there's a couple of years ago there was Selenium was the hype tool, then there was Cypress, now it's Playwright, and so forth and so forth. So important thing that you should do is define your goals. Take a minute, take some days, and take a look what kind of need you have when you would like to select a test automation tool. Define your goals And then also it's important to involve the engineers in the selection process. That's important because you alone as a software tester or a test engineer, you will never be able to do all the test automation on your own. And we're not talking about end-to-end automation here. We're talking about unit testing, integration layer, API test, performance test, end-to-end UI tests, and so forth and so forth. So it's really important to involve the engineers in the selection process, and because they also have a good knowledge of the tech stack. And if you know your complete tech stack, you can select maybe also different tools. There's also something that I have noticed in the past years is that, yeah, let's do everything with UI automation. Yeah, so let's do from an end-to-end perspective. But then teams notice like, hey, it's flaky, it's slow, it's a lot of maintenance work, and so forth and so forth. So therefore, I always recommend to take a look at the tech stack and then see on which layer I would like to automate and what is the right tool for me. And then you should write down some questions like, okay, what are the tech stack? What's the API? Do we have any KPIs in terms of performance, security? All those questions, note them down, and then based on those questions and also the knowledge that you gained on about your project, you should define selection criteria. So what are criteria that the tool have to pass in order to be selected? And once you have done that, maybe you have like 10, 15 selection criteria, and then you can start and compare the test automation frameworks against each other. And then in the end, there might be a completely different tool coming out of your results that fits much better to your tech stack and for your need, and it's not the hype tool on the market. So that's why select the right tool and invest time in the selection process. So there's more. And I have some questions for you. Does this tool support different programming language? Can the tool integrate it into CI/CD pipeline? Does the tool offer reporting capabilities? Is the tool well documented? And so forth and so forth. So these kind of example questions can help you in order to find the right tool for your need. So what's the third do in test automation is start simple. Yes. That's always important, because I also have seen it in a couple of years in my testing career, is that people tend to start like from the most complex, the most challenging thing in the project, and they try to over-engineer things. So my thing is, what I bring to teams is start simple. In the very first days or weeks, spend time to learn all about the tool. That's important. So once you selected a tool, learn everything about the tool. Read the documentation, check tutorials, check videos, get engaged in the community, and so forth and so forth. In best case, while you were selecting the tool, you were building a POC or like a proof of concept for that tool. Like maybe you to take some parts of your application and test with the tool against this application to find out if the tool really fits the need, and so forth. And then of course it's always important to start easy with automated checks. So try out to implement one easy step, one easy unit, one easy API access, and so forth and so forth. And then once the automated product parts you should do that are not changing too often, of course, right? So in case you have not so mature product that is changing on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, those parts are not recommended for automation, because you have to rewrite all over the scripts again. But start with the parts that are like mature, stable enough that you know that's not often too much in the upcoming days, weeks, month, whatever. And then you can start simple, write tiny parts, integrate them, the easy steps into the CI/CD pipeline, and then to build up your automation pipeline and framework, basically. So the fourth one is involve developers. This is something you should do also in the selection process, but here it's also like you really have to involve them in the overall test automation process, because automation isn't easy. It has the same complexity as production code, and this is something that I've heard so many times over the course of the years, that people who have no idea about testing say, test automation, it's writing some scripts, it's doing the thing, and not really maintainable code has been written, no patterns were used, and so forth and so forth. So this is a complete nightmare. Automation isn't easy, it's a complex thing. Developers need to support the automation process. This is also something that you cannot do alone as a software tester. You need to get the buy-in from your developers to help you in defining automated checks, help you in writing scripts, helping you in setting up the pipeline. You cannot do everything on your own. That's It's absolutely not possible. Yeah. So the tester-developer ratio usually is challenging for testers to keep up with the development pace. I would say an ideal developer or tester-developer ratio is like one software tester is with 4 developers in a team. This is something that you can handle. If it's getting more, forget about it. Yeah, you will not have enough time to do like the normal testing activities in the team as well. Yeah. And then, of course, the different layer of automation is important to keep in mind. Yeah, don't go with an end-to-end automation UI framework and try to automate everything, and also to cover like all of the cases that are in your application. So really make a plan. What you would like to automate on which layer, and then start from there. So the last do in this video is, it's more about the developers. Yeah, the teams should plan automation as part of the product planning. That's important. Sorry, I missed that. So that's important. So whenever you're working in an agile context and you're planning new product features, bring in, for example, in the acceptance criteria, or make an extension to a ticket template saying, okay, hey, this is an automation plan that we would like to do. This is something that we would like to automate. Yeah. So what should be automated on which level and from whom? Because last but not least, the test automation is a complete team effort. Like the whole quality is a team effort. And this is something that you, when you work as a software tester in a team, you have to advocate for that, right? You have to talk a lot of times to developers, to product managers, to designers, maybe also to stakeholders, to show them the benefit of having a solid test automation set of scripts in place that reduce the time in doing regression testing, in reducing the time to market, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, so that's important, and that's why it's important to get the buy-in from the developers. So now we're coming to the last do for this video is invest time in the automation pipeline. Yeah, it's also something that I've seen is, yeah, we have some scripts, they're on my machine, I execute them locally, and then we're good to go. That's completely wrong, right? So again, create a plan for the automation pipeline. That's really important. What you would like to automate when. So in case a developer is doing a commit on the master branch, what should be executed? Unit tests for sure. Integration tests, maybe. API tests, it depends. A UI test, maybe. So this is something that you should really create in an automation pipeline plan. And then you should, of course, configure the build execution accordingly. Yeah, so what I just mentioned is that whenever you do some changes on master branch, some triggers should actually execute the tests and should return the test results. Yeah, that brings me to the third point here is to make the test results transparent in and outside the team. Yeah, so that's important. Inside should be a no-brainer, right? So everybody should get an email, a push notification, the various communication applications out there. Or it should be like a dashboard in a team space, for example. But also make this transparent to the outside world, to maybe stakeholders who are interested in the current state of the quality. Don't hide this, because this is something that brings fruitful discussions to your team inside and outside. Yeah, and this invested time should not be underestimated, because it's so important to invest enough time in setting up a solid test automation framework and a solid test automation environment, because it's also the same thing as will be done with creating a really great software architecture. The architects planning the complete software, there are like diagrams, maps, and whatever is out there. So people invest lots of time in these kinds of things, but not in the test automation field. And this is a big mistake, I would say, and this is something you should change. Okay, so now I have talked about the do's in test automation. Now I would like to talk about the don'ts, so things you should not do when working with test automation. So let's take a look. The don'ts. Yeah, beware of the hype tools. I mentioned it already before in the selecting the right tools, is never blindly or select a tool just because it's hyped. I have seen so many teams failing because of that. It was like one person in a team that was hooked. Oh, this is the best tool ever. Look here, there's a tutorial, here's some fancy videos. Let's take it, let's use it. Then they were completely reworking all these test scripts. And then after, I don't know, weeks, they found out like, oh my God, this tool cannot handle, I don't know, push notifications, for example, or cannot handle a certain navigation element that we have in our application. So this is extremely dangerous. Don't do it. Yeah. as I said, the tool might fit for some cases, but not for the important ones. So that's why it's important to check why the tool is hyped, and make your own judgment. Don't just blindly follow the things that are online available, or follow some marketing slides as well. Yeah, so please take your time in checking out the tools. Second, don't try to automate everything. I mean, that was in the introduction of the video today. I mean, this is a complete mistake. It's not possible to automate everything, and it's not needed actually. Yeah. So never try to automate everything. Whenever you hear that phrase, talk to that person, explain, or ask the question like, what do you mean by everything? Because also some people, they have a different understanding of everything, of the layer. Maybe they say, okay, we would like to automate everything on a unit level, but this is completely a different game than completing everything from a UI perspective, for example. Yeah. So what I usually recommend is to check the product tech stack and then create a plan for the critical journeys, for the critical parts of your application. Start from there, and then of course check the maturity of the product features as well. In case it's not mature enough, don't do automation at all. Yeah. So it's important to have a clear focus and goals when you would like to work with automation. If you don't have those in your team or in your company, bring up the question to the people involved to get answers, and then start from there, because otherwise it's just a waste of time. Don't automate too soon. I mentioned also a couple of times now, is don't start too early with automation. The tech stack or features might change frequently. Especially in startups, I have seen it that they have ideas, they would like to be fast, they would like to ship fast, and then when people start to invest also in quality, in automation, and they notice that, okay, next week we do something completely different, it's a waste of time. So yeah, start with the foundations of your product. Parts that are mature and in use, that's important. And if you know that you are not sure that this product will be the same in, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks or more, then maybe don't invest in automation at all. But make some notes, like what are the things that you would like to automate once they are ready to go. And then you can also take the time to find the right tool that might fit for those needs. So create the plan, work in parallel here, and then invest the time in the infrastructure setup. And then once you're done, you can start from the beginning with all your answers and information that you collected. And last but not least, here I would like to mention is you also have to think about the test data. Yeah, so just don't blindly start to automate, but also make a plan about test data. What kind of data is your application using in order to process or like to solve a problem? And you need to have the proper test data in place as well, because without the right test data, your automation will be useless, because you can use the test data once and then it's used, it's gone. You have to rebuild it again, write scripts for it. So there's also a lot of time that you have to invest here. So, and last but not least, never replace manual testing with automation. That's a big thing that you should never do. So never replace manual testing or normal testing with test automation scripts. I've heard it also so many times, like, hey, our developers are going to test, they're going to write some scripts. This might work on a unit level, on a really technical, deep level of things, but you can never replace the brain of a human being who's working as a tester in a team, because this person will find so many defects, so many issues, and is raising so many questions that an automated script will never do. Yeah, so that's important to keep in mind, and also important to fight for. So it's a powerful part of the development process, normal testing. So never replace it with that. Yeah, and as I said already, automated checks do only what was coded, so nothing more. If you say, okay, follow these steps, the program is doing it millions of times, repeating in seconds. Yes, but it doesn't look left and right what's going to happen with the application. Is there some error log, for example, in the developer console? Is there a weird ad showing up next to me? Or is the design completely wrong? Yes, this can be done with automation, and there are also great tools available for that one. But the human brain is so powerful and great, and we should all rely on it, and we should use it. So that's important to keep in mind. What else? Yeah, also important to keep in mind. I mean, I know you all know it, but once you have maybe somebody who's who doesn't trust you, send them the videos like, hey, look, Daniel is talking about why we should not replace manual testing with automation. Is testers act like user. Yeah, we are using the product with our mouse, with our fingers, with the keyboard. We are interacting completely different with the application than an automated script will do. Yeah, and this is something, the last point I already mentioned, is testers use critical thinking skill to identify potential issues, and this is nothing you can never replace with an automated script. Yeah. So these were my 5 do's and 4 don'ts for working with test automation. What do you think? Do you think I missed something? Do you think there's something that you are doing differently, or you have a different opinion? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like, a thumbs up as always in the video. Leave a subscription to support me, and thank you for watching, and bye bye.